All right. All right, let's get started here. What's up, everyone? So, what I'm going to do differently, or the future of this channel, is that I'm deleting Frank analysis. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. I'm not deleting the channel. There's too much growth that happened here, but I don't want to lose you guys, and I don't want to lose anybody. I'm not deleting the channel, but I am going to do things differently going forward. And my decision for that is based on observations that I've made in independent media during these over 2 years that I've been on. I started back in January 2020, back when I was on HMO podcast. I created this channel specifically during April of 2020. And during those 2 years, I met a lot of people. I saw things that work, things that don't work. I saw a lot of blind spots that people have. I saw things that some strengths within independent media, but unfortunately, I saw a lot of negatives also. And I'm going to be as honest as I can, and this might come off as really brutal for some people to hear, but I think it's necessary to point out. And I think that the current way that independent media is operating is not working. It's we're stuck. We're stuck, and you can see that when you look at your news feed and videos of what you see. Even with some of my colleagues, people that talk about some of the same things that I talk about. So many of the videos are about gossip, cheering for one side, hero worshiping, talking about whether, oh, like this person called out this person, that person called out that person. And we know who the people who are most guilty of that are. But pretty much all of them are guilty of it at this point, other than the more serious outlets out there that are just strictly reporting news. Like the ones that are strictly just reporting news are like the Last American Vagabond, Gray Zone, uh, Corbett Report, Minpress News. But a lot of these like commentators, a lot of the stuff that they're putting out is, oh, this person called out that person, and a lot of it has to do with Jimmy Dore also. Like when someone comes after Jimmy Dore, this politician went after Jimmy Dore, and if they're not talking about beef that's happening within independent media, they're talking about politicians having beef with each other, or this politician said this. Can you believe that they said this about? Can you believe AOC said this? Like we get it after months and months, and in some cases years, of talking about these politicians. Are we really surprised at this point with some of the things that they do or say? Let's talk about some of the more important things that are getting overlooked. Let's talk about what's in these bills that are being crafted. Let's talk about what the US or some of these other powerful countries are doing to countries in the global south. How they're exploiting people, how they're collecting data, what they're doing to move things forward. What is Agenda 2030? What are the solutions to this? Do you I don't hear enough discussion on solutions, and whenever people do talk about solutions in independent media, at least where most of my audience stands and who a lot of them listen to, they're talking about fake solutions, like still talking about third parties to this day, talking about third parties as if that's going to be a solution, as if the current system that we have right now would ever allow that to happen. And if by some miracle a third party gets into office, they're going to have to deal with legislation that's crafted by lobbyists, not legislation that they craft on their own. Or what else? Saying, oh, we need to appeal to this demographic of people. Why not try to appeal to everybody? Why are you going after only this group of conservatives? Oh, like we share these things in common. What, your hate for libs? For liberals? Your hate for shit libs? And yeah, I'm talking about MAGA communism. And I want to point out there are some people in independent media who I see as honest, genuine, but are still misguided and still talking about drama. And then there are those who I see who are disingenuous, dishonest, and who are purposely in it just to get clicks because they want to make a living off of this. And yeah, that is Jackson Hinkle. That is Haas from Infrared. And that's the problem when you try to make independent media a career rather than a service. It's truly been disappointing, but it's been an eye opener for me on deciding what to do going forward. But I really do think that a lot of these channels that mainly talk about gossip or put out content to make things tribal, to have you cheering on for certain politicians or for certain countries, it's dangerous to be propping these people up. It's dangerous to be, I mean, I don't want to sound contradictory for myself because I used to say, oh, like you can platform certain people, but it gets to a point sometimes where, yeah, you can platform them, but what you're doing can be a waste of time, a waste of energy, and you're misguiding people by validating some of these things when you know that these people are in it to grift mostly. And that's the problem when you try to make this a career. And a lot of these very well funded and organized outlets like RT or Press TV or all other state funded media, yes, they will put out information that can be true. But we always have to treat it with open eyes and be aware that there may be biases there. At the end of the day, you have to come to a decision on what is true and what is not based on the observations that you yourself make, not just taking in everything as factual just because it comes from one news outlet. Otherwise, you're committing the same mistake that a bunch of people who only watch mainstream media commit. And that's the mistake of blindly just following whatever it is that they tell you without question. You have to be questioning everything, no matter where it comes from, even things I tell you. Things that everybody in independent media tells you. Just because they're all echoing and saying the same thing, you're going to accept it just because they're all saying it. You're not going to question it. You're afraid to be an outcast. You're afraid to get shitted on by people you consider friends just because you're in this community of people that watch independent media. You can't be afraid of being an outcast if you are in search of truth. You have to be a leader. Don't be a follower. The way the current system is set up is to have all these different distractions. And I think that independent media has fallen into a lot of these distractions when it comes to cheering on for certain politicians or cheering on for certain sides of a war, not looking at the nuances. When you see certain names trending, Vosh, for example, trending all the time on Twitter, why is that? Jimmy Dore trending all the time on Twitter. Why is that? And I'm not here to say Jimmy Dore has never said anything that wasn't true. He's put out a lot of good work throughout the years. But to a certain point, You can't be hero worshiping the guy. You have to accept that he's going to be wrong. You're going to have to accept that the world does not revolve around him. And if he's trending and Twitter is putting it there that, oh, hashtag Jimmy Dore is trending on Twitter, why is that? Maybe because the reason for why he's trending is because there's some kind of conflict that's going on between him and some other personality. Sam Cedar or AOC or Nina Turner. And then it becomes a distraction. Because while you are being entertained by that, lobbyists are crafting legislation for how to oppress you. They pass it, you're unaware of it, and as time goes on, more and more of your rights are taken away. These corporations have more information about you that they can collect now, because the future is going towards more data collection. We always have to be questioning, like, why are these people trending? Andrew Tate, why is he trending all the time? Vosh, why is he trending all the time? Because these are distractions. MAGA communism, why is that trending? Because it's a distraction. And then we see everybody in independent media goes on and talks about the latest drama between Jimmy and Nina Turner, or Andrew Tate said this, or Vosh said this. I've been guilty of it. A big reason for why my channel grew originally, when I went from like 400 to thousands of subscribers, was because I was talking about the beef between Jimmy Dore and the Young Turks. Unfortunately, some people never moved on. And they're still talking about TYT to this day as if we don't already know who they are. As if we don't already know that they are limited hangouts who misinform people and repeat State Department talking points, on and on. And we already know the story about TYT. Do we really need to repeat it over and over again? Do we really need to talk about some ridiculous thing that Anna Kasparian said? Or that Cenk Uygur said? How is that going to solve anything? And this is why I'm saying the current format of independent media is not working anymore, or not working right now. We're stuck. A lot of you are stuck. How you get unstuck is by being more self-aware. And that's where I want to focus my channel on in the future. Going forward, I'm still going to talk about things that's happening in the world, especially things that are getting overlooked in independent media. But we really need to start talking more about the mind, the spirit, psychology, self-awareness. How can we become more self-aware? How can you prevent yourself from being blinded? How can you prevent yourself from having these blind spots and staying stuck in this entertainment realm? Because are you watching independent media because you genuinely want to be informed, or are you watching it because you want to be entertained? I used to listen to independent media all day long. I'd have my video playing, listening to like everybody who I was subscribed to at the time. It would be video after video. I'm just running errands, driving here or there, listening all day long. At the gym, listening to people. You want to know how many independent media channels I listen to now? 0. Occasionally I'll listen here and there to some interesting interviews, like if the topic is interesting and it's something that not a lot of people are talking about. I'm still supporting smaller channels out there, people who I consider genuine, like Ramiro Funes, uh, Lone Wolf Podcast or Lone Wolf Ace, Robert Durden. But I'm mostly seeing people in independent media to all talking about the same thing. Am I getting informed at that point, or is it just confirmation bias? Am I just listening to get entertained, or do I genuinely want to be informed? Because if I genuinely want to be informed, yeah, I mean, I could listen to a great analysis by somebody that somebody did on their video, or I could just look at the source directly. Because at the end of the day, what we as commentators do is we talk about the sources, what the sources say. You can do the same thing. You don't have to just sit there and have somebody read the source for you and they give you their analysis. You can do that. But like I mentioned, a lot of these people in independent media want to make this their career. And so they're going to give in to things that are going to give them the most clicks because they need to survive. And when they're in a situation where their driving force is to survive, which means they have to grow their channel as much as they can, they're going to do some things that get promoted by algorithms, which at the end of the day are going to be distractions. There's going to be some truth there into what they say, but there's also going to be things that will mislead you and keep you stuck in a certain realm. So you stay in a team, hating on other teams, so you can stay distracted. This tribalism, this benefits the elites. We really got to question when certain channels grow so much at a short period of time. We got to question why that is. Why is the algorithm allowing these channels to grow so fast? They could either be supported by intelligence, or the things that they say benefit the elite. Because the things that they're saying, there may be some truth in it. There may be some truth in what they're saying in their analysis. But there's also enough falsehoods there that keep people in a realm where they're confined to a team, hating on other teams. And I'm gonna call this out. Like, we should be questioning why Jackson Hinkle grew so fast. We should be questioning why Richard Medhurst grew so fast. There may be some truth in some of their analysis, but why is it that they grew so fast? Why did the algorithm allow that? Meanwhile, other channels get their channels taken down. And you can say, oh, they're demonetized and blah, 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 blah. Like some, like for example, like there's channels out there that are demonetized, but that doesn't change the fact that at a certain point they did grow a lot. And there's other platforms that exist out there like Rumble that are owned by these elites where they can further grow. And to appeal to other factions of the population, more conservative factions of the population. As I've been saying, ever since I had Steve Poikonen on over 2 years ago, when I had him on, I asked him, what do you recommend viewers do? He said, diversify your sources. And to this day, I've been saying what he said. You must diversify your sources. I'm not telling you to not listen to these people that I've been name dropping. Well, if you don't want to, you don't have to listen to them. And you might find that some of these people, it's more beneficial for you to not listen to them, but you can keep listening to them if you want. But at the end of the day, you need to diversify your sources, because there's going to be truth in what somebody says and what other people say. There may even be some truth in what some people in independent in mainstream media say. Tucker Carlson may give some truths here or there, but he has some self-interest. People in independent media, same thing. There may be some truth in what they say, but there's some things that are, they have some self-interest that drive them. Keep that in mind. The critical thinking that you use for mainstream media, you got to continue to apply that in independent media. And if you really want this world to improve, because I know the reason why you're a viewer of independent media is because you genuinely want to be informed and you want the world to get better. If you really want the world to get better, you yourself have to get better. You yourself have to be aware of yourself, your weaknesses, and you can lead by example. And that's why going forward, I want this channel to focus more on the mind, on the spirit, because we're a reflection of what our country wanted us to be. A country of narcissists, run by narcissists, pointing fingers at other people and not wanting to take responsibility for things that we did wrong. This is what I mean by we need to elevate consciousness. What else did I want to say here? Because there's a lot of important things I wanted to address here. And I don't want to like end this video and be like, oh man, I forgot to say that one thing. I will, if there's on the ground events, I'm still going to try to go to those. I think those are important. I'm still on good terms with a lot of people in independent media. Currently, since I'm backing away, I'm not making this my full-time career. I backed away from being a part of any network. Okay, I'm doing this as a service and as a hobby. But one thing we need to keep in mind is that not a lot of people are talking about at a deeper level how we can change the world, that it has to start with ourselves. Like not to knock on the Assange event, we do need to have events on this to help free Julian Assange. But a lot of people that went up, a lot of people just kept saying the same thing we've heard over and over again. Not enough people talking about how we can convince other people about the reality of what's happening to Julian Assange and to our free speech, to our state of journalism, to censorship. How do we reach all those people? Because a lot of people are just confirming everybody else's bias, saying the same thing, making the same jokes. Oh, how many intelligence people are out there in the crowd? Or, oh, is there any corporate news outlets here? How do we convince other people about what's happening in the world? Sticking to the facts rather than sticking to narratives. Being patient with other people, being aware of ourselves. There's an efficient way to deliver information and there's an inefficient way to deliver information. And again, I'm not knocking that event down. It was a great event. Amazing event. Shout out to Misty for putting that together along with Roar Media also. Amber. Shout out to those people. But all these things that I've realized along my journey as a commentator is what led me to make the decision that what I have to do now going forward I can't I can't keep making videos the way I've been doing them before. Independent media can't keep making their videos like how they've been doing it by modeling it off of mainstream news where they show a clip, give an analysis on the clip, um, talk about what a politician did. We got to go deeper than that. We got to do better than mainstream media, not be a copycat of it. You guys get what I mean? But yeah, like I've been saying, the real solution will come from it comes from within. You lead by example. Other people will, if they're ready, they'll follow along. They'll be more open to look at the sources that you look at, and then come to a realization of what's actually happening in the world based off of the facts, and not based off of narratives, but based off of facts. You know, all this team sports playing in independent media, that's a result of low conscious level. It's low vibrational energy, low levels of self-awareness. Anything else? I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I want to say here. But I really wanted to let a lot of this stuff out of my chest because I hadn't, if you guys noticed, I wasn't making videos as consistently. And it's because I was starting to realize a lot of this stuff that was happening. But I mean, I will continue talking about this. Like when I do, I'm still going to do panel discussions. Of course, they're going to be focused on other things. I'm trying to make them more deep. I'm still going to talk about what's happening out there in the world because that's part of being aware of yourself, and being aware of your extended self, which is the rest of the world. I'll leave you guys with that for now. We can talk about this more, on panel discussions, like I said, or when I do future videos. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys sticking around. A lot of this may have been brutally honest, but it really needed to be addressed. But yeah, take care, everybody. I love you all. Stay informed.